Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Music of the Week. I know I look clean because I just had a shower and I'm in my Stranger Things pyjamas, so this might be a fairly lazy episode still. I have 6 albums to go through, so I'm going to go through them as quick as I can manage and do. We begin with Charlie Bliss and their new album Forever. Now, admittedly, when I first heard the name Charlie Bliss as an example I'll get into a bit later as well, I thought it was a one-person thing, but no, this is a full-fledged sort of power-pop band that mixes in indie rock elements, and apparently this one is not as good as their previous 2 albums, but I didn't listen to their previous 2 albums, so I only have this album to go off of, and I'm giving it an A, the second highest grade of the episode, yeah, spoilers for an album we'll probably get into later, but I won't say which one until we get there. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. Just really charming production dynamics. I think the production is probably my favorite thing about the album. It just adds all these nice poppy elements, but makes them work with the sort of indie rock bass line that has to work with. The power pop stuff is worked nicely. I do like the sort of love-based lyrical themes as well. They are written and phrased a little bit weirdly, but they feel sort of human as well in their presentation. And I find the writing to be very endearing as a result. The band are really good. The lead singer Eva Hendricks, who I think also plays guitar as well, does a really good job. Her vocals and natural charm go off quite well. The pacing is also really good. It does noodle a lot with the traditional formula that an album like this probably would have, and it mixes in so many elements, but at the same time keeps things very optimistic and positive without overdoing it, which is really good. Really good. Yeah, pacing's great, production's great. Riffs, I do think, can blur a little bit, and also it feels like the guitar work could have been a bit more present in places, but all in all, I thought this was really well written, really well performed, and just overall really fucking charming. Next we get to a band called Combat, and their second album, even though I did think it was a debut when I first heard it, titled Stay Golden. And sometimes with a lot of albums this year, there have been people who've just been heaping praise on albums, that I don't think deserve it. Well, that's not the case here. This one gets an A plus all across the board. I genuinely cannot think of negative about it. If I had two minor nitpicks, and again, I feel like I have to fill in the cons section each time I write a review for this on Discord. If I had two very teeny tiny nitpicks, I do think the pacing can take a while to get used to, and the riffs can feel a bit much at times. But fuck it, all just about works as a pop punky sort of emo thing. By the way, I thought I'd specify that. And even with my hair being clean, it's still not. Fuck it, there we go. Yeah, it's fucking great stuff. I like the lyrical themes focused on a very self-referential concept about just trying to make your shit work. The riffs are incredible. I love all the little sort of notes they have. There are parts of it that remind me quite a lot of the instrumental stuff on "Is a Real Boy" by Say Anything. There was a lot of vibes to that album I really got, but with a more sort of pop punk beef up and with a bit more I would say positive energy and a bit more humour. In fact, a lot more humour. This is quite a funny album at times. I can't remember any lines that really made me chuckle, but there was some really good stuff. And yeah, I'm looking down. Sorry, one of my hairs was on my laptop there. Oh, there's another one. I don't need to think about that. But yeah, the performances are fucking brilliant as well. The stand-up might be the lead vocalist, but again, if I could remember the name, I would put it up, and I will, obviously in post. But one name I can remember is the name of the producer for this one, Ryland Hege, who people might recognise for his work in Origami Angel. He's one of the members of that band. So if you want a guy to produce very dynamic emo pop punk, you get a guy who's in a very dynamic emo pop punk band. I feel like he just works so well with the sound here. The mixing is great. The lyrics are fantastic as well. Riffs are really, really fucking good. I love the performances. Pacing is amazing as well. It's almost broken up into 2 parts in a weird way, but the build up to those parts is wonderful. And yeah, it's got so many great songs. It's just so full of fun. So just go listen to it. This is a top 10 maker at the very least. Next, we take a veer from any pop-related stuff and go to a bit of melodic death metal with Dark Tranquillity and their new album End Time Signals. This is a Swedish melodic death metal band that's been around for 35 years by this point. And I'm giving this one a B+. I thought this was a really strong bit of melodic death metal. I will say at the gate, my main criticism against it is that it doesn't really feel like there's anything new. There is a nice focus on the melody part of the death part of melodic death metal, but it still doesn't feel like anything I really haven't heard, especially from Swedish Medema, MTM. But still, I thought the performances were really good. I liked the production on it a lot. It did feel quite organic. I do feel like maybe it could have been put into some parts of it a little bit better, but it still works quite well for me. The lyrics also have a very dark tone, which I think fits the album overall in terms of theme. Those themes are mostly about human insignificance, human nature, the end of the world, the positive stuff. But it all works quite well, I would say, especially in the context of this album. Performance is still really good. The bands are really carrying it for me. Sorry for doing that so much with my hair. Yeah, really, really good stuff. I would say maybe the pacing again, it doesn't feel like a lot new, and I think the production could have had a more raw feel at times. But I like the instrumental work, the guitar work especially is quite good. There's some pretty good themes, and the band are doing a lot with what they're given. So yeah, I would say give it a shot. Next, we have the first of two debuts in a row. We have Les Grand and their first album, Triggered. Now, this is the other band that I thought was a single person because of the album cover only having the band's lead singer, Tyler Simone Moulton, who is probably my stand-up performer on this album, I will say. Giving the album a B+, I thought it was really solid sort of indie rock that mixes in these really nice sort of punk elements that almost have like an L7 vibe, I would say, at times, and even a bit of Spanish love songs. The lyrics go over some really tough to talk about topics, things like poverty and other political themes like the divide of war and class culture and things like that. The problem is that the tone of the music often doesn't fit the tone of the lyrics, and this is also something that's positive or negative. I feel like there is some really good experimentation going on, but the album also has way too many fucking songs in it. It feels a bit excessive, and that gets to a point later in the album, like, there's 16 songs, and it clocks in over 50 minutes, and it didn't really need to be that long. It just feels like they're throwing way too many ideas at the wall. Thankfully, a lot of them do stick, and I think the band definitely have the chops to keep this sort of stuff up. I just think that they needed to not water it down, but tone it down. I feel like the writing could have been maybe a little bit either make the lyrical writing a bit more serious or musical writing a bit more serious. But, there was some really good stuff. I like the elements that they worked in. The band work quite well. Really good themes. Mostly good riffs, I like a lot of the instrumentation. I like that they dare to mess with the formula, even though they don't really have an established one. I do feel like it's a bit too much to try for a first album, but I am also cautiously excited to see what they try to do for their next one. So, yeah, benefit of the doubt and all that, and I still really like this one. And next we have the other debut of the two in a row, which is Cowgirl, not Cowgirl, OK Cowgirl, and their first album, Couldn't Save Us From My Guts, and I have a very, very large gut. I'm giving this one a B. I thought this was some pretty good. There's been a lot of indie rock in this episode. I just noticed. This is some good indie rock guitar noodling, I will admit. I feel like, that bit's fun. I did like the performances as well, especially the lead singer Leah Levine, and before you ask, no relation to my knowledge, to Avril. I did like the lyrics sort of revolving around relationships and heartbreak, but they didn't feel exactly new. And I think this is where this album is sort of at odds with itself. So first of all, unlike Les Grand's album, I wish OK Cowgirl took a few more risks with this one because I feel like it would have paid off more because they don't veer outside of their comfort zone too much. And each time they try, I feel like the production, while it is quite clean and makes it sound quite polished, I feel like it holds a lot of the sounds back. I feel like the band has a lot of ideas, they're just not signed to the right label to get those ideas realised. And that label is, and I will check really quickly, Easy Does It, which I'm not overly familiar with, and produced by Alex Farrar, who I might have covered before. I don't know, but I still think overall it's got mostly good enough stuff. The pacing can often feel like it doesn't build up to a lot, and it feels like it is going through the motions, but I know I've said like a lot of things that make it sound negative, but the album's still nicely put together. It's got its charms, it's got some really good writing, it's got some really good ideas. I just feel like the band need to sign to a different label to get those ideas more out into the open, because I feel like they wanted to do a lot more and they were just so confined on this one, and I don't really know whose fault it is, but at the same time I like how it sounds too much to complain a whole lot, so take that how you will. And finally, we go to one of my favourite places to find music, Australia, for yours truly, and their second album, Toxic. I caught their first album back in 2020, I really like that one. I like this one a little bit less, I'm only giving this one a B. I thought, yeah, B is the lowest grade of this episode. Again, good music, good stuff that was released last weekend. Or at least just stuff I listened to. Anyway, I thought it was really good from a lyrical standpoint. It is mostly about heartbreak and love again, but the lyrics are written with a raw intensity that I couldn't really deny, and there's some really good performances as well, especially from the lead singer, Michaela Delgado, I think her name is. It is, I just had to check, and I feel like the pacing and production might be the biggest sufferers on this album. Neither of them are bad, I will admit. I think the pacing is pretty good, given the time frame, because it's only 28 minutes long. It is almost 10 minutes shorter than their debut album. And I feel like it really needed a lot more time to really cook. And the production is weird, not because it sounds bad. It's got like a very sort of good sheen on it for this sound, and even adds a nice bit of edge to it. The problem is that it was produced by 4 different people, like individually, and I'm not really sure if that was the idea. And I feel like there might have been maybe a little bit more scenes drawn out. I don't know. But it just feels so odd in terms of that. But in terms of writing, it's really good. A lot of emotion, from the band as well. New drummer Henry Beard fits in quite nicely. I think he's probably the standout on the album. And yeah, riffs are also quite good. So all in all, also really solid stuff. I just wanted a bit more of it. And next is the official ranking system, I guess you could say. So I'll go with at the bottom, maybe yours truly with Toxic, then OK Killgirl with Couldn't Save Us From My Gut, then probably Dark Tranquillity with End Time Signals, and then Let's Be Ground with Triggered, although those are you can switch around and won't disagree with you, and then Charlie Bliss with Forever, and at the top, Combat with Stay Golden. Very easy pick as always. Go through all of these yourself and decide what you like to listen to the most, because you know, that's what makes this shit interesting. As for my favourite cover of the last weekend, it goes to yours truly's Toxic. I like that it looks a bit like an anime movie poster, and I like the detail of one of the wings being withered from the Toxic stuff. And my favourite song, and I will look this up because I can't remember the full name of it because it's got a weird name, so give me a second, is called Weird Ending Explained Part 2, because it's the last track on Combat's album Stay Golden. It had a weird name, even had weird in the title, but yeah, Weird Ending Explained Part 2. But yeah, that's probably my favourite song. Love the dynamics, love the writing on it. A great way to close out a fucking good album too. That'll about do it for this episode as well. I'll see you all tomorrow for the return show after Over the Top last weekend. I hope you enjoyed that pay-per-view by the way, because that's up now. It was a lot of fun. And I'll see you all, tomorrow for that, and then on Saturday for a Let's Play. Well, more of my current Let's Play. Probably finishing my current Let's Play if I'm being honest, but we'll see. As always, thank you for watching, you're awesome. Bye-bye.